Okay, so I told you guys I would do a video of going over this review since in class 8 our Google Meet was cutting out and was really bad. So this is just optional if you guys want to watch it. If you want to skip through and look at certain problems, whatever you want is fine. So numbers 1 and 2 of solving equations, these are both just one-step equations. So if we remember, when we want to undo addition or subtraction, you do the opposite. So for number 1, we have addition. To get rid of addition, we're going to subtract 11 from both sides. Because 11 minus 11 is just 0, so it goes away. We're left with x on this side. 6 minus 11 is negative 5. So our answer is negative 5. And when you guys are doing this quiz, if you ever aren't sure about your answer, you can plug this back in for x. So you can do negative 5 plus 11 and see if it equals 6, which it does, so your answer is correct. Number 2, we have whenever you have a number connected to a variable with nothing in between them, this means multiplication. So to undo multiplication, we're going to divide. So you're going to divide both sides by whatever is connected to that x. So then we just do 36 divided by 4 and we get x equals 9. Now we're moving into our two-step equations. So we said except for special cases, which is number 5, you want to undo all addition and subtraction first. So in this one, we want to get rid of this minus 6 first. So to undo subtraction, we're going to add. So we're going to add 6 to both sides. So we end up with 9x equals 27. And then again, to undo that multiplication, we're going to divide both sides by 9. So we get x equals 3. For number 4, again, you want to get rid of all addition and subtraction first. So to get rid of this minus 5, we're going to add 5. So you always do like the opposite operation. So we're left with 2 over 5x equals 4. And then this is where we multiply by our reciprocal. So you're going to multiply by 5 over 2. It cancels all of this out. And we talked about how there's 2 ways that you can multiply fractions. So if you do 4 times 5 over 2, you can put the 4 over 1. You can multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So we get 4 times 5 is 20, divided by 1 times 2 is 2. 20 divided by 2 gives us 10. Or you can cross cancel. So you can simplify anything on the top and bottom that have a common factor. So we see 4 and 2. I can tell that 2 goes into both of them. So I'll divide 2 by 1 and I'll divide 2 by 2 and we get 1. Then divide 4 by 2 and you get 2. Now we're just left with this 2 times 5, which is 10. So either way, we get that x equals 10 here. For this next one, number 5, we said this is our special case. So these are the ones where you have to, since this whole thing is being divided by a number, you need to multiply both sides by that number before you can add or subtract. So we're going to multiply by 5. It cancels out that denominator, so we're left with x minus 8 equals 15. And then we're going to undo that subtraction by adding 8 to both sides. So we get x equals 23. Last one, we want to undo any addition or subtraction first. This 13 is positive, so we're going to subtract it. So we want to leave the term with the variable on this side. But you're still left with that negative 7x. It's not just 7x equals 14. Then we divide by that whole negative 7, and we're left with x equals negative 2. So these are like what you need to know for the equations, and now we're going to move on to inequalities. So for number 7, we have 5x plus 3 is less than 18. You're going to solve these the same way as solving equations. The only difference is that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you need to flip your signs. So we're going to start by getting rid of our addition and subtraction. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We're left with 5x is less than 15. And then you divide by 5. So x is less than 3. Now, the next thing added in, so that one wasn't any different because we didn't multiply or divide by any negatives. Now we're going to graph it. So you're going to pick 3 on here. Remember, if you have less than or greater than, it's an open circle. If you have less than or equal to or greater than equal to, it's a closed circle. This is just less than, so we're going to have an open circle at 3. And it says x is less than 3, less than left, both start with an L. We're going to go here because we want all the numbers that are smaller than 3. So this would be like 2, 1, 0. And then your final step is to write this in interval notation. Since it's everything less than 3, it's going from negative infinity up to 3. So you write your infinity on the side where your arrow is, and if it's on the left side, it's a negative infinity. And that always gets a parenthesis. Then your open circles get parentheses and your closed circles get brackets. This is open, so it's a parenthesis. Next one, negative 4x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 22. Start off by subtracting 6. So we get negative 4x is greater than or equal to 16. Then you divide by negative 4. This is where you flip your sign because we're dividing by this negative here. So now it becomes x is less than or equal to negative 4. Now when you graph it, you go to negative 4. This would be negative 5, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, blah, blah, blah. Shade in because it is less than or equal to. So if we look back here, that's a closed circle. And we want everything less than. So less than is this way, less than left. We have our infinity over here, and since it's on the left side, it is negative. And it goes up to negative 4. This negative 4 is included. It's a closed circle, so it's a bracket. And your infinity is just a parenthesis. Next one is x divided by negative 8 plus 1 is less than or equal to 2. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we have x divided by negative 8 is less than or equal to 1. Again, to undo division, we're going to multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 8. And now we're multiplying by this negative 8. So we're going to flip our sign. It's now going to be greater than or equal to negative 8. So we're going to find negative 8, blah, 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 to 0. This goes to negative 12. So at negative 8, it's a closed circle. We want everything greater than goes to the right. And now to write our equation, we have negative 8 here, our infinity on the right side now. Your infinity always has a parenthesis, and since it's a closed circle, this is a bracket. Number 10, 8 over 5x minus 6 is greater than 2. We're going to add 6 to both sides. So we have 8 over 5x is greater than 8. Now you can multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 5 over 8. These 8s will cancel out, so we just get x is greater than 5. We don't flip our sign here because we did not multiply or divide by any negatives. So if we have 5, 6, 7, 4, it's an open circle because it's greater than, and it's greater than, so we want everything bigger than 5. We're going to the right, greater than to the right. To write our interval, we have 5 here. Infinity goes on the right side because that's where our arrow is. That's always a parenthesis, and this is open, so it's a parenthesis. Our next one, 16 minus 6x is greater than 28. Subtract 16 from both sides. So even though the 16 isn't second like it usually is, it's the one without the variable, so it's still the one we want to get rid of. And since it's positive 16, we're going to subtract it from both sides. That leaves us with negative 6x is greater than 12. divide by -6 to get x alone. But since we divided by that negative, we need to flip our sign. So we now have x is less than -2. So we're going to find -2 on our number line. And it's an open circle because it's less than. It's less than, so we're going to the left. We want everything smaller than -2. And then to write our interval, our infinity's on this side. When it's on the left, it's -infinity. It's an open circle, so it's parentheses on both. Last one, number 12. We have 2 minus x divided by 3 is less than or equal to 4. First step again is to get rid of the constant, the one that doesn't have the variable. So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have negative x over 3 is less than or equal to 2. Now it's being divided, so we're going to multiply to get rid of that division by a -3. You want to keep whatever sign is in front of it. So now since we multiplied by that -3, our sign flips. We now have x is greater than or equal to -6. So if we find -6, it's a closed circle. So we want everything that's bigger than -6, greater than, goes to the right. And to write it in interval notation, our infinity is on the right because that's where our arrow is, and that always gets a parenthesis. Now this -6 is included. It's a closed circle, so it is a bracket. So if you watch this video and look over the quiz review, if you are feeling confident with all of this, you're going to be great for the quiz. But if you need any extra help, I am available to Google Meet any day from 12 to 3. Just let me know.